You too. What is going on, Chris with Jerno's Comics and Pop Culture? All right, guys. Everyone is still on the Spider-Man hype, and I'm gonna bring up a theory that I don't think anyone has really touched on. So, starting off, I'm gonna bring up this article here by HeroicHollywood.com that was published back in June about Kevin Feige and Sony really talking up a Spider-Man Venom crossover, as it says here, likely to happen, but it's up to Sony. Let's kind of go into what it states here. It says that in an interview, Kevin Feige said that this is likely to happen, but it's up to Sony, right? I won't go too much into what this article is, but the reason why I bring this up is because of this key point to a theory, guys. While so many, I call them clickbait rags, but so many YouTubers as well are speaking on Spider-Man leaving the MCU as if it is confirmed. Nobody's confirmed it. I know we had Tom Holland come out twice this weekend saying that it's been a pleasure. I'm so grateful to Marvel, and I'm still going to play Spider-Man and things like that. And then we had Kevin Feige saying, it was never meant to be forever. It's finite. What we could do with the character. I'm grateful. All this stuff. Nobody has said the words Spider-Man is no longer in the MCU. Nobody. But here's my theory, guys. My theory is that when you look at phase 4 and possibly phase 5, and what Kevin Feige and the MCU is doing, starting this fresh kind of chapter in a new saga, right? Because we the first 11 years, starting with Iron Man to Endgame, that's wrapped up. We have new characters coming that they want to focus on. We have the Disney Plus channels that we focus on, and this new phase is really bringing in a whole new chapter of things, right? Heavy load, a heavy load. Sony having the ownership of Spider-Man, I feel, is going to take lead of Spider-Man 3 without the help of Kevin Feige as a producer. Now, what this means is yes, Spider-Man 3 will not technically be a part of the MCU. It's going to continue the storyline that the MCU was set up in the cliffhanger that we left off in Far From Home. But what's going to happen is they're going to handle this movie by themselves, Sony that is, because of this key factor. Sony wants a Spider-Man movie every 2 years. Marvel Studios can't do that. They cannot do that. So this is where now I don't this is where so much speculation comes into when it comes to the talks and the leaks and Sony coming out with their public statement um a few days ago, and then where negotiations kind of hit a brick wall. That's all speculation because we don't know. These two studios could be sitting there and just they could be playing their cards, and it could be all a gimmick to I don't know. I don't know why. Like I said, this is where the speculation can become conspiracy theory. But I truly believe that Kevin Feige, when Sony released the statement saying Kevin Feige no longer wants to be involved, this isn't the end of Spider-Man being in the MCU. This is just a more complex agreement moving forward where I think Kevin Feige is going to hand off Spider-Man for the next technically maybe 4 years. We might get two films. We're going to get a Spider-Man film in 2021 and then 2023. So I'm thinking Sony can handle those. They'll continue from where Far From Home left off, build on some kind of Craven storyline, which brings in Sinister Six or whatnot. And then the next film, 2 years later in 2023, we'll see Venom, Tom Hardy's Venom, coming over and crossing over with Spider-Man. And then after that, I think we're going to see Spider-Man hop back over seamlessly into the MCU. Now, what this means in terms of broader details, I don't know. Does this mean that Sony Spider-Man, if they make the movies on their own, is the contractual agreement going to completely cut out any kind of reference to any of the MCU characters or using Stark Tech and stuff like that? I am optimistic that we may still see certain elements of that where Sony can get away with implementing that maybe without using language, trademarked language. Again, this is where it's like it's a stretch to where I'm being hopeful as a fan of what the MCU has done with Spider-Man to where they can work out some sort of deal where just like the MCU leased Spider-Man from Sony, that Sony can lease some sort of copywritten or trademarked material that they can at least reference in their films at the very least. Because I think what you see with where the MCU is going over the next 2 to 4 years, where we're getting more of a horror story with Doctor Strange in the Mouth of Madness, and where we may be able to see if Spider-Man goes over to Sony and crosses over with Venom, that we can have an R-rated film and see how that does with Spider-Man in it, and see how we maybe then can bring more Sony characters like Venom back into the MCU, and it works. See, this is where it can be genius. It can be genius on Sony and Marvel Studios' part, that with them sort of working together behind the scenes, even if it's not fully contractual, if the Sonyverse, which is like the Venomverse so far, if the Sonyverse, the Sony Spider-Verse, can continue to be successful and follow certain trends of what the MCU and Marvel Studios has done, the Sonyverse can be a universe within the MCU multiverse that exists on its own, but it is connected to the MCU multiverse. I mean, think about it, guys. This is where Sony is, Marvel Studios under Disney. Disney has bought so many studios, but this is where a separate entity, a separate studio that can keep its own universe fresh, can still connect with other studios in a broader sense of a multiverse. To me, this is an amazing possibility where we can see Sony handling the Spider-Man characters in a way that they've never done before, where we ultimately see them fail twice, and with all the reboots where they can see the continuing success like the MCU has had, where the Sony can do their Venomverse for a decade more and be successful with it, and with having interchanging parts that can be borrowed back into the MCU, and then that we can see back in their own universe. So guys, this is what I think the bigger picture is that is going on. I think there's going to be some more complex contractual agreements moving forward, where we can see these characters that are leased kind of move back and forth between two studios, hence between two universes. Um, that's exciting to me. So maybe that's just me being optimistic. Maybe that's me just thinking outside of the box. I don't know. I'm hoping for it. I think if this happens, it can be nothing but big, big. It can mean big profits for both studios involved. So let me know what you guys think. Leave some comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time.